All right, this one's called James White is Wrong About Jordan Peterson. I just listened to James White dissect one of Jordan Peterson's speeches. This is on the very last, or the very latest dividing line. And James White, you wonderful idiot. Okay. The subtitle to this is probably going to be an argument for atheism. Remind everyone listening, I'm not an atheist, I'm a Catholic, but let's just go from there, okay? All right. So James White is hearing Jordan Peterson speak. He likes Jordan Peterson, obviously. He had him speak at one of his conferences, or he was a guest on a conference where James White and James White's daughter spoke or something like that. Anyway, it's part of a whole thing, all right? And everyone's trying to make a claim on Jordan Peterson. And I'm not going to try to make a claim on him. I'm just going to talk about his ideas, which is his ideas are consistent with both Roman Catholicism and with Orthodox Catholicism, which is Eastern Catholicism. And it's also consistent with some versions of Reform Judaism. Why is that important? Because we believe in free will and free choice. Okay, James White does not. James White is a Calvinist. Sometimes he seems to lean toward limited free will, but for the most part, he will argue against it in most of his conversations. Every once in a while, he kind of leans on it to, like I said, limited free will, but he's not big on free will, and that's what he doesn't understand. So why am I saying this is? Why am I calling this, or subtitling this, an argument for atheism? Okay, so let's say you only have one life to live. Let's say there's no other life. Let's say we go back to the Jewish idea of the afterlife, the early Hebraic, pre-Israelic idea of the afterlife, where you just die and go to Sheol, you go to the underworld. Okay. So what's the meaning of life, if that's what happens after you die? Why do Christians have Jesus going into the underworld to bring people out of the underworld into heaven? Even if they were good people like the patriarchs. Even if in the Gospels, Elijah and Moses show up. What's that about? Okay. Well, here's the deal. If you only have one life to live, everything is precious. Everything. And everything is more valuable because you cannot put anything for the next life, because there is no next life in an atheistic point of view. Therefore, every moment is precious. Everything is valuable. Everything is necessary. And if it's not, it's gone. Atheism, when well thought out, and when it comes from reason, and when it comes from the fact that you yourself are not a believing person, which again, I am, makes everything much more vibrant when you realize that everything matters, that every word you say matters. Now, you can go into nihilism, and you can fall into that trap, and then you're stuck, and then nothing matters. And okay, that kind of atheism is destructive. But there's a higher form, not a low form, a higher form of atheism that isn't angry at God, that doesn't think that God exists, that isn't trying to be a religion, that is not Hitchens and Dawkins and all those idiots. No. There's a higher form of atheism where you simply don't have belief. And if you don't have belief, then what are you supposed to do? Give up on life? No, you look at your philosophies. You look at your morals. You say, what does all life have in common? Life has in common suffering, birth, and death. What can I do to make life better? I can mitigate suffering. Okay? So when James White is dissecting Jordan Peterson's point of view, he is missing the part where Jordan Peterson is also appealing to atheists and secularists. Yes, Jordan Peterson talks high Christian ideals. Yes, Jordan Peterson sounds like a crypto-Catholic. I admit that. I don't think anybody would argue with that, considering the fact that one of his mentors in studying Christianity, one of the people who have been helping him, is an Orthodox icon carver. Okay? If an Orthodox icon carver is helping someone guide through the Bible, through the biblical text, you're going to have a point of view that ties in to an Orthodox icon carver. even if you don't necessarily agree with everything he's saying. Okay? So James White, you're missing everything that Jordan Peterson is saying. I get it, man. Jordan Peterson's message is strong, and it supports what guys like me and what guys like you believe. But here's the difference. You're not giving him credit where credit's due. Okay? I understand. You don't like Catholicism. I get it. You don't want to admit that he's talking crypto-Catholicism. You don't want to admit that he's being influenced by both Jewish rabbis and by Orthodox monks, okay? And you don't want to see that you definitely don't want to see that he's being influenced by a Native American, possibly a naturalist or whatever spiritualist, okay? You don't want to admit those things, but those are the things that are influencing Peterson, because Peterson, Dr. Peterson, happens to like these people. These are people that before he was famous, he was communicating with, okay? So those are his influences. Now, I get it. You, as James White, are trying to say, but that's not Christian. I got news for you. It's Christian. If you're Catholic, you're a Christian. If you're Orthodox Catholic, you're a Christian. And all of our faiths, if we're Christians, are based on Judaism. So even if you can somehow stretch it out that it's not a Christian argument, you can't say it's not a Judaic-based argument, a Judo-Christian argument. Get it? And Western society is based on Judaic-Christian ideals. You don't have to like it, but there's a whole part of that sentence that's not the word Christian. There's another part before that that's called Jew, okay? And the Jews are the ones who wrote the Old Testament. Okay? I hear so many people on almost all my videos try to tell me that the Jews didn't write the Old Testament. The Jews wrote the Old Testament, okay? All of Jesus' disciples were Jews. Hey, newsflash, Jesus was a Jew. So get over it, James. I get it. You don't like what Peterson is saying when he starts sounding like a Catholic. But that's his read on it, okay? I'm not saying he's a Catholic. He's not saying he's a Catholic. He's barely come out of the closet about being slightly Christian. Mostly because everybody kind of realized it. But you are making a very dumb argument and you're undercutting his message. And his message is one of personal responsibility and free will. I get it. You don't like free will. Too bad. Get over it. It's something he believes in. It's something he believes in very strongly. Go read his book, 12 Rules for Life. I did. It was a very good read. It was very edifying and explained a lot of his points of views. A lot of his views. A lot of his viewpoints. I don't know. I'm starting to ramble. James White, quit having a problem with free will. I get it. Theologically, you don't like it. I have yet to hear you come up with a good argument against it. By the way, I've seen all your debates, so don't say that I haven't watched your debates. I've watched all your debates, all of them. If it's on YouTube and it has James White on it and it's a debate, I've either already watched it or it's on my queue list to watch. And I think the only ones I'm missing are you and Pacwa, and the one where you're debating a Hebrew Israelite. I know there's a first part to that, but I'm going to avoid saying that. Okay, so outside of that, I've seen almost all your stuff. I watched Dividing Line. Sorry, man. Your view is just undercutting Jordan Peterson's point of view. And you're undercutting the legitimacy, and you're not respecting someone's choice, which is in the Bible, not to be Christian or not to follow God. And if they choose not to, then you have to respect that. And you have to hope that they have their own morals from themselves. Because it is possible to have morals without believing in God. The Bible talks about that. Remember Tower of Babel? All of that? Okay? Remember eating of the fruit? Man have become like us, like one of us. Remember that line? Okay, so stop degrading human worth and human value. And also, side note, to your earlier thing about chimpanzees and human hybrid, what you're missing out on in your explanation is that in the Bible, all of creation has a little bit of God. All. What's special about humans is that humans in the wording gets told to be the stewards. Basically, like gets told to go and conquer, go and dominate. I have so many translations, I don't know which wording is the wording I want to use. But the point is, subdue. To go and subdue the land, okay? That's what you're like, no, sorry, man. Like, all animals, all creatures have the gift of life from God. Okay? That's the argument that you're missing. So the idea of there being a human chimp hybrid, your problem with that, the argument that you use is not very good. You could be saying it's violating natural law, which that would be a good argument, but your argument that the other guy doesn't see that humans are above animals is a bad argument, because the whole point of stewardship is that animals also have intrinsic value, and so does the earth. In fact, there's a great line that I just read today, and I think it's from Thomas Aquinas, although it could be from Francis of Assisi, that says, "My sister moon and my brother the sun," because we're all creations, and that includes time. So everything is a creation of God, therefore it all has value. Okay, so argument for atheism, argument against James White idea of no free will and humans having more value just because we're humans. We have value because our purpose in life is one, to worship God, right? And the other, to take care of the earth, to protect the earth. Because we have intellects that can help the creatures. Okay? So, humanistic argument, religious argument, argument for atheism. I think that covers it all. James Wright, you're just wrong on this one, which is too bad because I really liked what you were saying. All right. Peace, like, and subscribe.